friends, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're gonna go through the 13 books that I read in July. Okay, a couple things that you'll notice. Number one, I read a lot on my Kindle for July, so I'm going to pop up pictures. I will hold up the physical books that I do have that I read, but I did a lot of Kindle Unlimited reading, to be more specific, in July. And it was a lot of romance, it was a lot of very emotional books, and then it was also a lot of Greek mythology retellings as well. In my wrap-ups, I like to start with the books that I rated the lowest for the month and work my way up to the books that I rated the highest. So we are going to start with my lowest rated books for July. The first one I gave 3 stars, and that was Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon. If you know nothing about the Ice Planet Barbarian series, first of all, let me send you some TikToks, girl. I will straighten out your book talk algorithm. Essentially, this series is about these girls who were abducted by mean green aliens. They end up crash landing on this ice planet, and there are barbarians there. And these barbarians, we'll just say, are very spicy. That's all we'll say. And so this is the second book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. Never in a million years would I think that I was going to, first of all, read this series, but second of all, continue with this series. But I need to just give a huge shout out to my friend Nikki from her channel, Nikki Lopez. She recommended this series to me and I fell in love with it. It is such a silly, goofy time. It's kind of a parody series, like you don't take it seriously at all, and it's like an alien monster romance series. So the second book I gave 3 stars because I still enjoyed it. It's really along the same lines of the first one. I just didn't like this female protagonist as much as I did in the first book, and I didn't love the romance between this main character and her barbarian alien. It was definitely a different dynamic from the first book. My next 3-star read of July was a dark, very dark romance, and it's called Satan's Affair. It's by H.D. Carlton. This one was also on Kindle Unlimited, so I will pop up a picture. The synopsis for this one is a little bit difficult because I don't want to give anything away, and it was a very short book. It was less than 300 pages, but this book takes place at a kind of like scare fest, haunted carnival thing. Our main character in this book lives in one of the haunted houses, if that tells you anything. She is very creepadeeps. It is a reverse harem. She's in a relationship with the other, we'll say, spooky actors of this one haunted attraction. Our main character has this ability to sense evil in people, and she kind of acts on her ability. That's the summary that you're gonna get from me. However, I need to say before you pick up this book, honestly, before you pick up anything by H.D. Carlton, because I'm going to talk about another one of their books in a moment, look up the trigger warnings for these books. These are some of the darkest books in general. Like, regardless of romance, these are some of the darkest books in terms of content and subject matter that I've ever read, and I love to read horror. These were next level dark compared to some of the horrors that I've read as well. So please, please, please check content warnings before you pick up these books. Twisted Love by Anna Huang was my next 3-star. I had to pick up this series because it seems like everyone is talking about it, and I was not disappointed. 3 stars for me is not a bad rating. I think that Anna Huang and her writing in the Twisted series gets better as you go along, given I've only read the first 2. But comparing the writing in the first book compared to the second book, I saw a major improvement. So this first book is a brother's best friend trope. Alex is not the most likable person. He's extremely overbearing and overprotective. He is a genius. He's very cold-hearted. He's a master business CEO type, dresses in the suits, you know, that kind of love interest. And it's kind of a grumpy sunshine. So our female protagonist in this book is so sweet, very sunshine, but she has her own traumas from her past that she's working through. Altogether, the romance in this book I thought was really sweet. I would just say the characters, the two main characters in this book were a bit underdeveloped for me, especially the male love interest. Like, Alex just didn't have a lot of personality, but I thought that the spice and I thought that their relationship was just really fun. This book was definitely entertaining, so I gave it the 3 stars. My first 3.5 star was Haunting Adeline. This one is also by H.D. Carlton, so again, please check content warnings before you pick up this book. This is a stalker romance. It is a long one. It's 550 pages, and this book has a lot going on, but I'm going to stick to kind of what the synopsis gives you, but hopefully provide a little bit more clarification, because going into this book, I was very confused because of the synopsis that was on Goodreads. So this is not a paranormal romance or anything like that. This is definitely a stalker romance. Our main character, Adeline, has just inherited this haunted Victorian manor, essentially, and she is an author. She is a really fun, bubbly character. I loved her dynamic with her best friend in this book. It was really, really fun, but think of creepy haunted Victorian house vibes surrounded by a deep, dark wood. She ends up attracting the eye of an unwanted suitor at first, so it is kind of non-consensual. There are some non-consensual scenes in this as well, but the spice in this book was fantastic. The reason I gave this 3.5 and not a higher rating, I loved the first half of this book. The first half of this book really establishes the relationship between Adeline and Zaid. Zaid is so hot, by the way. The second half of this book really gets lost in this whole side plot. And that's where it lost me, because the side plot is one of the darkest things I've ever read in my life. Just know one of the content warnings for this book is human trafficking and some really graphic scenes with children. And that's where this book lost me. Like, it's 550 pages, it's very long. Do I think it's well written? Yes. I was not invested in that whole side plot of the human trafficking piece. I was just there for Adeline and Zaid. They were stunning, their scenes were stunning, but the side plot really took over, and that's what I was not interested. It was captivating, but it was just so dark and I didn't want to read that. Like, I was here in this book for a dark romance, and that wasn't the focal point towards the end of that book. And then my final 3.5 star for July was Curse of the Wolf King, and this is by Tassanja Odette. I really hope that I'm saying that name correctly. I'm probably not.
I'm actually illiterate when it comes to people's names, and I apologize.
I'm gonna try to work on it, okay? This is also on Kindle Unlimited. It is the Entangled with Fae series. I really enjoyed this book. It was such a fun, lighthearted romance, which I really needed after reading so much of H.D. Carlton and the workings of that strange and twisted mind. So this kind of brought me back to the surface, and I'm so appreciative. I also really want to continue on with this series. They're all companion romance books that are fae retellings of fairy tales. So this one is a Beauty and the Beast fae retelling. I was worried going into this book that it was going to be a ripoff of Agathas. I mean, a fae retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I was like, I don't know about this. I'm a little bit worried about this one in particular. However, this book really holds its own. If anything, this is a fae retelling of Beauty and the Beast mixed with Bridgerton. Our main character is Gemma Bellafleur, and she has some scandal in her past. She was involved with a man before they were married. I know, so scandalous. Gemma Bellafleur and her family end up moving because of that scandal to the Winter Court, and she's very excited for a fresh start. She wants to leave her past behind her and just move on from it. She is focused on herself, she's reading her smutty romance novels, and she's doing her own thing. But this is very much like a Bridgerton society, so all of the other girls are coming out to society. They're having these, I don't even know what you call it. I'm not super versed in all of the Bridgerton terminology, but there's basically like a dating season, and there's all of these get-togethers and balls and things like that, and you know, you have to have a date and you have to dress up and you're getting courted by all these men and you're trying to find a husband. That is this book. So Gemma wants no part of it. She's like, that's not for me, sis. Okay, thanks. I'm gonna go read my books. But she gets captured by a trickster fae king who threatens to hold her for ransom. She finds herself at the top of the gossip column yet again. And then we have King Elliot. He is our cursed wolf king, and he's the one who captures Gemma, and he's trying to break his curse. He will do anything to free himself and his people from this curse. Gemma needs to try to bargain her way to freedom. There's just one hitch. To do so, they have to trick someone into falling in love with the beastly, brooding Elliot. I just thought it sounded like such a fun time. And it was. And I'm definitely going to be reading the other books in this series. Okay, my next slew of 4-star reads, I actually vlogged all of them in one of my 24-hour reading vlogs, so I will link that vlog up above and down below. My first 4-star read for July was Elsewhere by Alexis Shaitkin. This is a literary fiction and also kind of dystopian. It's about this society named Elsewhere. The women in this society, their entire life is centralized around motherhood. Like, from the time that they're little girls all the way to when they grow up, they know that their destiny is to become a mother. So this society is extremely rigidly traditional. But also in this society, there is this phenomenon where some of the mothers just disappear into thin air. They disappear into the clouds. No one in the society knows why this happens, so the women are plagued with questions of, is that going to happen to me? Was she too overbearing as a mother? Was she too negligent as a mother? Why does this happen? And essentially, like, how do I have this not happen to me? I want to have my babies, I want to raise them, I want to be there to watch them grow up, but they have no control over who disappears and who doesn't. If that sounds weird, but if it sounds interesting, I felt the same way. The writing style of Alexis Shaitkin was mesmerizing. And then obviously the premise for this book is extremely unique as well. It was really a commentary and an exploration of motherhood. Yeah, it just shed kind of an interesting exploratory lens on motherhood. My next 4-star was a graphic novel. It was Teen Titans Raven, and this is by Kami Garcia. I typically do not rate my graphic novels or mangas because I just find them difficult to rate. However, this graphic novel had, I guess, a special place in my heart, and it had a lot of substance for me because I grew up watching Teen Titans on Cartoon Network. Guys, I know, I'm a 90s baby and I'm proud of it. And Raven was always one of my favorites. So if you like superhero stories, if you are familiar with Teen Titans, or if you're not, this is Raven's origin story, and it was amazing. Also, the art style in this was so wonderful. Again, I vlogged it so you can hear more of my thoughts, and I show a couple of the illustrations in this novel as well in that vlog, so I recommend you click on it if you'd like to hear more. Then we have the Agathas, which is by Kathleen Glasgow and Liz Lawson. This is a YA thriller book that was so incredible. If you know me, you know that I am obsessed with Kathleen Glasgow's characters. If you love a character-driven story, I mean, this one has a lot of action as well because it's a thriller, so it is very suspenseful. However, if you like a well-written character, look no further. Kathleen Glasgow, in my opinion, writes the best characters that I've ever read. Their dialogue, their relatability, just the depth of these characters is so wonderful. Kathleen Glasgow also likes to tie in a more serious topic into her books. So the other book that I read by Kathleen Glasgow was How to Make Friends with the Dark. In that book, it really explored the foster system, the foster care system, but also the grieving process. In this book, although it's definitely not as central of a focus, it does have parental abuse and kind of domestic abuse content warning for you. In this book, we follow an unlikely pairing of two girls. They live in Central California. One of them is extremely wealthy. The other is more of like your normal girl. You definitely get a taste of the rich and wealthy lifestyle in this. Like, some of these girls have new Porsche SUVs, mansions on the cliff sides by the ocean. Bougie. Very, very bougie. They team up because there has been a couple disappearances in their town of teenage girls, and one of the teenage girls winds up dead. The police really aren't taking it seriously. They're not putting in a lot of effort into solving the case. Our main characters step in their place. My last 4-star of July was The Wicked Deep by Shea Ernshaw. I am definitely picking up the other books that Shea Ernshaw has written after reading this. I was not expecting this to slap as hard as it did. I read this as one of my picks for Summerween and was not disappointed. This book definitely gives Hocus Pocus vibes, except it takes place in Oregon in a very rainy, gloomy ocean town. Our three witches were drowned on June 1st and they return every June 1st. So it's kind of a summery, spooky read. And they possess 3 girls in the town sneakily, so no one knows like who's who, who's possessed. And they drown 3 boys in the town every June. So like many locals, 17-year-old Penny Talbot has accepted the fate of the town, but this year, on the eve of the sisters' return, a boy named Beau Carter arrives unaware of the danger he has just stumbled into. Mistrust and lies spread quickly through the salty, rain-soaked streets. The townspeople will turn against one another, Penny and Beau will suspect the other of hiding secrets, and a death will come swiftly to those who cannot resist the call of the sisters. Sorry, I might have said that was my last 4-star read.
I lied.
My actual last 4-star read for July was Twisted Games by Anna Huang. Like I mentioned, this second book was, in my opinion, so much better than the first. This is Princess Diaries 2 in a book with the spicy scenes that we always wanted to get. So it is a bodyguard romance, and our main character is a princess. She's not the Princess of Genovia, but it's the same vibes. So it's a forbidden romance between a princess and her bodyguard, and how that plays out, she's destined to be queen by a unexpected turn of events, and so it's extremely scandalous that she has fallen for and is dating her bodyguard. It was so good. I'm obsessed, and I cannot wait to continue on with the Twisted series. And like I mentioned, the writing in this one, the characters I felt were that much more developed. They both had a lot going on, but their personalities were more established. They just felt more real to me, in my opinion. But the spicy scenes in this book, amazing. And you get a lot more spice in the second book than you did in the first one. I gave 2 books 4.5 stars. The first was The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. This is an Iliad retelling through the perspective of Briseis. Briseis was one of Achilles' concubines. I appreciated quite a few things about this book. The first being it really paints Achilles and Patroclus and all of the heroes that we see in the traditional telling of the Iliad. It just paints them in a different light. Way back when, during that time period, during war, women had a lot to fear. They basically had no stability in their lives. Briseis was a queen of a neighboring kingdom until it got conquered by Achilles and his army. And then she was taken as a slave girl. So her life completely changes. What I really appreciated as well in this book was how anger, resentment, and hatred were explored and not just glossed over. Because Briseis needs to adapt to her new life in order to survive, but she's not happy about it. And I just really, really appreciated it. She never just fully accepts, yeah, this is my life now. She's like, no, these guys kidnapped me. I'm now a concubine. I'm a slave girl. And if Achilles dies, I still don't have any stability in my life. Then I just go to someone else. And what if he treats me like garbage? I don't think that I've ever read one of these stories where that perspective and those thoughts are really brought to life. I loved how angry Briseis was. I ate it up. But this was a really raw and brutal and at times difficult to read story. If that's something that you're interested in, I 100% recommend this book. It's a much more approachable style of writing, so you're not gonna get lost in the sauce of old-timey language. It's very readable, it's very approachable. However, the content of it can be difficult to read at times. And then the second 4.5 star was Athena's Child by Hannah Lynn. This is on Kindle Unlimited and it is part of a series that I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like Women in Greek Mythology. It's a 4-book series and they're all companions so that you don't have to read one in order to read the other. This follows Medusa and her story. So this follows Medusa and Perseus. The first half of this book gives you Medusa's backstory, the second half gives you Perseus's backstory, and then their ultimate ending of the two of them battling each other. Again, extremely approachable retelling to this story. It feels like my mission in life now is just to find approachable Greek retellings. Hopefully you're not sick of it yet, because I'm not. Overall, this story was fantastic. You guys know that Medusa has a very special place in my heart at this point if you've been watching my videos for the summer. Hannah Lynn's strength in her writing was really the dialogue. I thought it was fantastic. So again, 100% recommend this book if it sounds interesting to you. Then my final 13th book that I read in July that I will talk to you about was my one and only 5-star read of the month. And that was Nightshade by Carrie Lake. This is the first book in the Nightshade duology. I already have Infernium sitting on my shelf and I cannot wait to read it. I did vlog this book as well. I will link this vlog up above and down below if you're curious for all of my thoughts and freakouts and obsession over this book. Let me just give you this description. It is a dark, paranormal, gothic romance. Say less. Like, I was already there. You didn't even have to tell me anymore. In this book, our female protagonist is named Listina. She is just living her own normal life, but her dad was into some weird stuff. Her dad used to be a very renowned Ivy League professor on ancient religions and also Christianity, but he, at some point, lost his mind chasing this idea of a separate veiled realm, which is kind of like a purgatory realm, and he really lost his credibility because everyone thought he was crazy. Well, turns out this shadow veiled realm of this purgatory-esque thing is real, and she is spending her life investigating the inexplicable. Our male love interest is Jericho. Also, just know going into this, everyone has a weird name. Like, I think that Carrie Lake was literally just like, let me give everyone the most weird and difficult name that I can think of. But it's kind of the vibe. I'm not complaining, I'm here for it. Our love interest is Jericho Van Croy, and he is the epitome of everything that Listina has been told to fear. He is a raven-winged harbinger who wears intrigue like a warm black cloak. He is an enigma, and she's determined to unravel him. I cannot even deal with how much I enjoyed this book. 5 stars, 10 stars, 15 stars. I loved it so much. I ate all of it up. The spicy scenes in this book are everything that I wanted between Bryson Hunt in the Crescent City books. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Well, that is it, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I will catch you in the comments, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye.